About Ukraine, Israel and the World War III, but let's discuss everything step by step. As the AFU proved at the beginning of the invasion, Russian tanks burn wonderfully. Now there is news that a group of anti-tank missileers from the 66th Separate Mechanized Brigade in the Lyman direction successfully burned 25 Russian tanks in 4 days. Some of it we've already seen in past videos, some more we'll see. Interestingly enough, the figures for the destruction of Russian tanks since the beginning of October do indeed show very interesting figures. Thus 121 Russian tanks have already been destroyed since the beginning of October. Let me remind you that in September it was 243 tanks. But it is interesting, against the background of such a growth of burning Russian tanks, another indicator, namely the number of destroyed armored fighting vehicles. And this indicator shows very modest figures from month to month. For example, since the beginning of October, 135 Russian armored fighting vehicles have been destroyed. Those who are not in the know will not pay attention to these figures, because what is the difference? The difference is that armored fighting vehicles should always have more losses than tanks. And that's exactly what it was in March 2022 to 414 compared to 889. But gradually these numbers began to equalize. And the reason is that today there are about as many tanks as armored fighting vehicles in the Russian forces. According to Lyman Kupiansk Axis, Russian troops launched another pointless offensive, but who is usually in the first echelon in an offensive? Probably someone would think tanks that break through enemy defenses, but really not. It has to be armored fighting vehicles. It is units on medium and light armor, and tanks should provide them with fire support. As a result, the enemy forces are advancing, but there is no armor, or rather it is there, but not of the same functionality, but it is necessary to advance. That's why tanks are in the first echelon, and they successfully burn, on minefields and under the blows of artillery and ATGM units. Therefore Russian troops use tanks to plug the critical shortage of armored fighting vehicles, whose losses cannot be fully compensated for. Terrorist acts are similar in both Ukraine and Israel. We have seen a real terrorist attack in Israel, many civilians were killed. What they do to Israeli prisoners of war is even scary to think about. I wish Israel to release its territories as soon as possible, to protect its citizens and to punish the terrorists. And here is one of the questions that bothers me: is the Western world ready for war? And here it is not about Ukraine and Russia, Israel and Palestine, because all the predators are already watching and preparing. They see this weakness. Feel it. Democracy without weapons and force will not protect from barbarians, they will kill everyone. And the longer everyone will delay helping Ukraine, the more conflicts there will be all over the world. Russia will gladly share its experience with other ogres, it has nothing to lose, they have always helped murderers and tyrants. So maybe Ukraine's allies will rethink their views on this war. Will they realize that what is at stake is the new world order, as Putin publicly says? Do they want to personally test if they can withstand unprincipled, shameless, and ruthless terrorism? Isn't it time to smash the world's chief terrorist who is fueling others like himself? All the signs of an impending world war are evident. It is not Ukraine that started it, but it can end it in its infancy. We just need to help.